Hey, thank you. Wow, what an introduction, George. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Suzy Phillips, and I do live in Asheville, North Carolina. It's been my home for the past 18 years. I started out as a food truck. My food truck's name, the actual food truck, is Spartacus. And I have Gypsy Queen Cuisine. It's a restaurant, food truck, catering. And then I also have Simple Cafe and Juice Bar. George, a dear friend of mine, George, Brandy, and Justin, they approached me not too long ago, earlier this year, about doing this. And I had no idea, honestly, about Creative Mornings. I have not heard of it or what it's about. I kind of hide in my work shell. And when George told me about it, I said, sure, yeah, I would love to do it. And the word that they thought of me for was matriarchy. So I was really nervous to do this, honestly. There's so many things I would want to talk about. When I do think of the word matriarchy or matriarch, I think of badass women, powerful women, leaders, caregivers, life givers, decision makers, protectors, resilient and domineering women, women that support us and love within their tribe or their unit or community. Essential, influential, and inspiring women, be it at home, work, or within your community. The first person, of course, I thought about, and I'm gonna get emotional, is my mom. My mother, Salwa Farah. She was an amazing, amazing woman. She still remains, even with her not being physically here with us. She remains my matriarch. She loved, I'm so sorry. She loved unconditionally. She was the kindest person I know. Her heart was massive. She was so tough and so brave. She was fierce. She was fearless. She was fabulous, beautiful. And there's no way I was not going to even mention her today, or most of her, in this talk. She's inspired me, influenced me to be like her, independent, tenacious, courageous, aware, a little stubborn, and kind. So a little bit about me and my background. I was born and raised in Beirut, Lebanon. I was born into a really vicious and complicated civil war. Being born into a war, you really don't know anything better. Life is bombs falling around you, gunshots, tanks, checkpoints, machine guns. They were all a part of your backdrop. In fact, if it was quiet or peaceful for a day or so, we were very suspicious. But we didn't stop living because of our situation, our circumstance. We just learned how to live around it. And having a mother like mine made it possible. My mother raised us. My American father was absent most of the time because he traveled, he worked overseas. And then with the war being, it seemed like it took forever, honestly. All in all, it took probably 20 years. But the heaviest parts of it were the first 10 years. And because of the war and such a small country we lived in, we only had two ways out, by the port or by the airplane, and those shut down. So therefore, my father stayed out of the country and pretty much forgot about us. So if you wanted to get out of the country at that point, you had to kind of take a boat that you knew somebody to Cyprus. And from Cyprus, you ended up traveling everywhere or wherever you needed to. My mother was not just the matriarch, she was also she took a role of the patriarch. She lived for us, she protected us, risked her life for us. Nothing mattered to her but us. She sacrificed her life and her needs to make sure we were taken care of. Whatever we needed, whether it was food, toys, shelter. And we were very fortunate to have had a home there that we lived in that was a little bit outside of the chaos, but we didn't get discriminated against. We still got, you know, the sounds, the bombs falling, this, that, or the other. But she, without her, we wouldn't have survived. She just really, really embraced us and just took care of us. The women had so much balls. I could sit here all day and tell you about the things she has done, and we would be going through the evening. My beautiful mama was our leader, our protector, the decision maker, the caregiver. She was also a support of those that were less fortunate than us. Her friends, her family, especially the ones that lived on the west side of Beirut. And I don't know if many of you know the history. Beirut, size of Connecticut, New Jersey, was divided in half. West Beirut, East Beirut. East Beirut was mainly Christian. West Beirut was mainly Muslim Syrians. We were being occupied by intruders. So the American embassy was in West Beirut, and we really needed to go there once in a while because we had American citizenship, my brother and I. We would have to go to the American embassy, which was in West Beirut, and get our papers right. But we had to go through checkpoints, a lot of them, Syrian checkpoints, Palestinian, Hezbollah. But my mom would, we were young, so my mom would lay us behind the seats of the passenger and the driver, and we would lay across and cover us with bags of grains and parsley and tomatoes. So when we had to go through those checkpoints and, you know, being Lebanese, Christian, and having American citizenship, it was really very dangerous for us to cross these borders. But she flirted her way through the checkpoints. She didn't really cause any scene. She just said she had family that she had to drop off food for, which she kind of did because she had a Palestinian friend that lived in West Beirut that had barely a house. Her home had no walls. It had texture, but not from decorative things. It was from bombs and ricochets of things. And we would go visit Amelia shortly after we would go to the embassy, drop off most of the food that we were covered with because we had to come back through. And this was just a little snippet of how my mom was. She not only took care of us, she took care of others, whether they were enemies by definition of government or shady politicians. That didn't matter to her. If a person bled and breathed the same air and bled the same blood we do, they were friends and family. So needless to say, I really had a great mentor, influencer. When she passed away in 2014, I was only operating Spartacus, my food truck, which I bought in 2009, but I didn't really start till late 2010, 11. My mom was very supportive of whatever I decided to do. And she pushed me to my limits. She raised me to be a strong woman. So when I bought Spartacus, excuse me, I was ready to hit the streets with it in Asheville. I was ready to start selling her food that she taught me, and share my culture with my community. And going to get the permit, I discovered that there was a 25-year-old ordinance that did not allow food trucks in Asheville, anywhere in the Central Business District zone. So long story short, I fought the city. I didn't put my tail between my legs and give up. I fought for almost 2 years and ended up changing the law. And now we have, I guess, over 175 food trucks in Asheville, North Carolina. And I'm very honored and pleased that I have pioneered and become the mother of food truckers out there. But I wanted more, honestly. It was very inconsistent. I wanted a restaurant, but having a history of being financially disabled with my family, you know, you need collateral, you need cash, you need capital. You need a lot of things to get a business loan, especially for a restaurant. That's so much money. But anyway, when my mom passed away, I really feel like she became my angel. She made things happen for me. After the 10th time of going to a bank or the SBA, asking for a loan, things started opening up for me and I got a loan. I got a really, really tiny, tiny loan that nobody can open a restaurant with. But luckily I found a spot that was already an existing restaurant. I reached out to my community. I had waited tables at 2 very popular restaurants. So I made great connections. I raised money through Kickstarter when it first started. And I had my friends come help me paint. We built the tables. All in all, we opened Gypsy Queen Cuisine restaurant with $37 in the bank. And that's super unheard of. But I was determined, not just for me, but mostly for my mom. Her influence and the way she would interact with people really, really gave me the inspiration to be a unit with my employees. My employees are my family. I really don't like to use that word so much. I truly believe in taking care of yours, building a trust, a relationship, a family with who you work with. I mean, if you think about it, we really spend so much time with the people that we work with that it's really nice to make it a nice unit family. Now, don't get me wrong, not all of my employees have been angels and we love one another unconditionally. We've gone through and filtered a few toxic people here and there. And because we're such a tight unit, like fiber, we are very protective of one another. So we somewhat start filtering these toxic people out and keeping our tiny little circle clean and happy and a family. I, as a business owner, a small business owner, and on top of it, a restaurant owner, my life is not simple or easy. I have, between both restaurants, 26 children. They range in ages, ethnicity, class. I have punk rockers, I have metalheads, I have hippies, I have gamers, I have nerds, engineers, studying to be engineers. I have Christian, I have Muslim, anarchist, atheists, you name it. I have it. I have them all. We all respect one another, mainly and most importantly, we love one another. We accept our differences. And that is a given when you're come into our home. When you choose to join this family, that is a must. And we all seem to get that. I'm honored to say, and this might come out really bad, but this is the kind of relationship I have with my family at work. I've been called from jail by one of my family members at work for making a bad decision. When someone's in a financial pickle, they come to me to ask for money, to borrow money. When someone needs advice or direction, they come to me. When their car breaks down, they come to me for help. And this is the kind of relationship, honestly, I want in my house. We work together. I tell them what I want. I talk the talk and walk it. I set the bar high so we can all reach it together. And if someone needs a push once in a while, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to give them that little boost. But that's how you build trust. And not to say that they take advantage of me and I don't take advantage of them. We just really end up helping each other and making this work. You just need to build that trust, that leadership, and a dependable unit, a unit that is loyal and just do the best they could do. I couldn't be able to be such a leader without them. My work children, my family, all of this, my life was made possible because of the kind of woman my mother was. The kind of woman that taught me that I can be myself, the kind of matriarch I can be for my work family. When I hear the word matriarch, I think of Salwa Farah. There's my beauty, who I am proud to call my mother. I miss her so much. Thank you. I hope this was not super emotional, messy, ugly cry for you like it was for me. But thank you so much for having me a guest today on Creative Mornings.
Thank you so much. That was that was amazing. That was amazing. Oof. Can anybody else go for a spinach pie right now? If you have any questions for Suzy, and I see that some people have been putting them in, please put them in the chat and Lex will find them.
We do have a couple questions that came in already. One question is, what 3 words best describe how you and your Gypsy Queen family have experienced the past year of challenges?
Oof. You know, it painful, uncertain, and scary. That's probably how it would describe the past year and a half for my family and I.
Let's see. And the next question we got, I'm trying to go in order because they're coming in kind of fast, was how did being a woman / matriarch help you fight City Hall and the restaurant industry more effectively? If you think it did.
Honestly, I didn't know I was viewed as a matriarch until really George, I mean, within my work family, because I do feel like I'm a mother, you know, for them, but I had no choice. I didn't want to go back to waiting tables. I knew once I dig my feet into something, I make it happen, whether, you know, it's a dish I'm trying out for the first time or battling a couple of restaurant owners that didn't want me around, to changing a 25-year-old ordinance that did not allow people like me with not much of a whole lot of money to back up a $250,000 at least loan to start a restaurant. So a strong-willed woman in a boys' club, basically, is how I viewed it. And I just went for it.
And another question we have is, did you have a chance to meet your grandmother?
No, I mean, I did, but I don't remember her. And she was all strong from what my mom had told me about her. My mom was born into a very, very poor family. She was also uneducated, illiterate. She didn't go to school. She has 4 brothers and sisters altogether. And she worked in homes, in rich people's homes. Back then, generals, they were allowed to work with her mom. And then didn't say much, but that she was a strong woman and she loved her. And if I had tasted her food, I would have thought my mom's food was crap, which, yeah. She said, she would always say, if she would sprinkle salt, you would think it was the most delicious salt you've ever tasted from her hands. And that's how I think about my mama. Her breath, if she was making something, and in Lebanon, we have this thing, you have to have a breath that you're breathing on your food, and that's your flavor of your food. And that's how I see my mom's magic on food and people, and the way they react to her even before tasting her food. We had a neighbor that helped us with the garden once in a while, that she took him home. He wasn't a neighbor as in close to where we lived, but she gave him a ride one time, and his mom invited my mom for coffee. And she told me this, of course I wasn't there. She's like, you know, he would always ask me to put my finger in the coffee and stir it because his mom makes horrible coffee. So that was my mom. You all would have loved her.
I think you answered some of the other questions with the answers you just gave for the other questions, but one I definitely want to make time to ask right now is, how can this Creative Mornings community help you and support you right now? Are there any needs?
You know, just don't forget about us. Do come and eat with us. That's how you can really support my family, our nice little nest, whether it's, you know, if you see the food truck out, which we're not running that much because of shortage of employees, like everybody else is going through that. But yeah, come have a little taste of Gypsy Queen or Simple. Just keep us in mind. Tell people that are from out of town where to come. Come say hi. Tell us you like us. Come have coffee. Once we're, I don't know. I mean, that's really, honestly, all we can do is just make sure that we still exist, and come frequent us, even if it's just once a month. And I saw somebody in the little snippets asking if I was a Khalil Gibran fan, and I am. I've been to his house in Lebanon a couple of times where he was born. He's an incredible visual artist and an author and a poet, and yes, he's a beautiful artist. I can't keep up with all the little things that are popping. I'm so new to
I know. There's a lot of very sweet messages from people just saying thank you for sharing your story and willing to be raw and vulnerable today to really get the point across about this theme we had. And I think absolutely everyone who listened to this Talk feels that way today. And Lori says that your mom on your cooking show is still one of their favorite memories.
You know, that was the original plan for Gypsy Queen, was to have a cooking show where, you know, I traveled to the Middle East, such a taboo place, and really give a different look to the Middle Eastern people that you get from the media, and show how big-hearted and kind and hospitable Middle Eastern people are, and live with a family, like invite myself to a house and break bread, and just forget about our troubles and our differences and have a peaceful meal. And it was such a huge dream to accomplish in Asheville, North Carolina back in 2003. But we did do, they're on YouTube, Gypsy Queen Cuisine, when there was the URTV, the public access station that was short-lived here. I did a cooking show, and my mom, you would see her on there. I had her as my guest as often as I could because she lived in Florida with my brother. But thank you, Lori. I love you. So I met Lori in Doc Chase, and that's when I was doing my cooking shows.
I love
just-
that show. Oh,
I'm sorry. I
Sorry,
just want to
George.
point out that in the chat that Adrienne Press is looking for a job.
Yes. Front or back, come see me. We are hiring at both places.
Cool.
Come
And-
join the family.
Adrienne Press also wants to know, are there any other matriarchs who have inspired you?
You know, yes, I'm sure there are that you know, but nobody famous. I've had people that are dear and near to me in Atlanta, mainly she's not my mom, but her name is Pauletta Graves, and she is a tenacious woman. I lived with her for 8 years, and she was so strong that, and she was taking on so much that it was just an inspiration to know that women can be strong and go on, and not be pushed over. There was also another woman that just recently passed away that was a customer of mine. Her name is Anna Bennis, and she came to me maybe like my first month of vending. I was on Broadway's across from High Five Coffee, and she pulled up, a woman from Canton or Candler, very Southern woman. And it was such a nice and pleasant surprise that this woman took me in and adopted me like I was her granddaughter. But what attracted her to me was she came up to the truck. She didn't know what kind of cuisine it was. She's a major food lover, but I didn't know that then. And I had two homeless guys hovering kind of by the food truck. And instead of shooing them off, I gave them shawarmas. And she witnessed that in her car. And that's the day she came into my life. And we fell in love with each other. And we continued on having a beautiful relationship. She was one of the first teachers in Asheville. I mean, she died at 90 something last month. But she was an old Southern woman that did not tolerate any prejudice or racism. And that really I looked up to.